Hey guys, it's John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all happy, healthy, and enjoying life. Today we're going to take a look at this wonderful amplifier by Wangs Amps, the 1987 HW. This is basically a 50 watt non-master volume 4-hole input Plexi amplifier, so it's basically a sort of Marshall clone. And this amplifier was built in the Wangs shop in China with a lot of love and care using high quality components. And as the HW in the name suggests, this is a hand-wired amplifier. In my experience, the Wangs amplifiers are excellent. I really enjoy working with them. The tones are great, they are very sturdy, and everything about them is very high quality in general. I've also done some other videos on Wangs amplifiers that I have in the studio, such as the HD15 that I have up there. It's basically a Soldano and Bogner clone, a 15 watt amplifier with 6V6 tubes. And then we also have the 2204 HW up there, which is basically a hand-wired 50 watt JCM 800. And now I'm super excited to also have this 1987 HW hand-wired 50 watt Plexi in the studio. And of course, this amplifier is equipped with 3 12AX7s in the preamp and 2 EL34s in the power section. So the layout of this amplifier is old school Plexi basically. We have a power switch and a standby switch over here. We have a presence control. And then we have your standard 3-band EQ. And then we've got the high treble loudness control and the normal channel loudness control. And these are basically your gain controls. And they also have a great impact on the level since this is a non-master volume amplifier. Each of the channels has a high and a low sensitivity input, just as your old school Plexi amps would have. And you can also jumper the channels together with the jumper cable so that you can basically blend the channels together. And that gives you more tonal control. Because the high treble input is very bright in general, and the normal input is very warm and dark sounding. So by jumpering the channels, you get more control, and you can really choose how bright or how dark the amplifier sounds, and how much bass and low-end thickness the sound has as well. Now this amplifier is part of the Simple Circuit amps by Wangs, and the goal with that series is to keep the signal flow and the sonic integrity as pure as possible. And for that reason, this amplifier does not have an effects loop on the back, which is no big deal for me personally because I hardly ever use effects loops anyway. When you order your Wangs amplifier, you can choose a couple of different Tolex colors, and I went with this super cool and unique looking brown. It just looks really classy and old school, and I really enjoy the look of this thing. It's very unique when you compare it to all my other amplifiers, that's for sure. And another cool little detail about all the Wangs amplifiers is how smooth and high quality the pots feel. They give a little bit of resistance when you turn them, so it really gives them a sort of expensive boutique-y feel. I know it's just a little detail, but it does make the amplifiers feel a little bit more classy and high quality. And the tapers on the pots themselves are also very smooth, so that's a very nice plus as well. And the prices on the Wangs amps in general are very, very reasonable, especially considering what you get for the money. And do note that they do ship their amplifiers worldwide, so that's also good to know. I'll put a link to their web shop in the description down below for you to check out if you're interested. It's also worth noting that this amplifier sounds really good at lower levels as well as on very loud levels, which is not the case with my Marshall SV20H, for example, my 20 watt Marshall Plexi. Of course, you're going to have to crank this amplifier up loud in order to get some nice grit and gain out of it, especially considering it's a 50 watt amplifier. So this thing can go really loud. It's no joke. Trust me, this thing has a lot of heft and power. So let's check out how this amplifier sounds with various tones and various guitars. We're going to start off very clean, and then we'll get dirtier as we go along. And we're going to start with some nice clean tones using my PRS SC58 on the neck pickup. And for these tones, I'm going to use the low sensitivity input for the high treble channel over here. So it's going to sound very nice, open and clear. Now in general, I do like to use the high treble input on these types of amplifiers or blend them together because the normal channel on itself tends to sound pretty dark and bassy overall. I will be using my Laney Black Country Customs Secret Path reverb pedal up front as well for some nice ambient effects. And note that for all the tones in this video, this amplifier will be fed through my Red 7 amplification Amp Central reactive load and also some York Audio impulse responses for the cap tones. And for this first clip, I'm going to use the FD-MN412 M25 cabinet by York Audio, and I'm going to use the Mic Mix 03 file. Let's go ahead and check that out right now. That sounded beautiful, nice and bright. Now let's also check out some isolated tones. Here we go. Very nice! So this amplifier can handle clean tones just fine. But now let's check out some clean tones with a bit more grit and gain. And for this purpose I want to use a very unique guitar, my PRS SE277 baritone, the semi-hollow one with P90 pickups for a very unique tone. And for these tones I'm going to use the normal low sensitivity input, but I'm going to jumper the channels to be able to blend in some of that high treble sound as well. So that's a very nice way to balance out the frequencies. It's a common trick, of course, but it works really well for these types of amplifiers. And for these tones, I'm going to use the York Audio MRSH412 Blackjack pack on the Mic Mix 01 file. Let's go ahead and check that out right now. Very cool! Now let's also check out some isolated tones. Nice! I really like how that guitar and this amplifier work together for that nice and rich vintage tone. But now let's get to some classic crunchy rock tones, and that's where this amplifier really shines in my opinion. I'm going to use my Gibson Les Paul Classic through the high treble, high sensitivity input for plenty of bite, mid-range punch and clarity. And for these tones I'm going to use the York Audio MRSH412 M25 cabinet on Mix 01. Here we go. Awesome! And now also some isolated riffs. Here we go. Very cool, that sounded great. Obviously this amplifier is just perfect for those types of tones. Since it's a very classic sounding amplifier, it just works really well for classic rock and roll and stuff like that. I also want to try some thick rock riffs with my Fender Telecaster on the neck pickup. Again with a nice and crunchy gain sound, but stylistically perhaps a little bit more modern. I'm going for some thick but clear saturated tones, and I'm going to use the high sensitivity, high treble input again, and I'm going to jumper the channels also just to be able to blend in some of that normal channel for some extra thickness. And for these tones I'm going to use the York Audio MRSH 412 Blackjack again on Mic Mix 01. Here we go. Great! Now also some isolated parts. Very good. That sounded very thick and raw, just as how I wanted it to sound. Now I'm also curious to hear how this amplifier would sound with a boost pedal up front, so we're going to try this with my Maxon OD808 for some sort of classic rock or metal sounds. Into the same input as before, also with the channels jumpered, and I'm going to use my ESP LTD-Elite Eclipse 1 guitar for this with the JB in the bridge. And for these tones, I'm going to use the York Audio MRSH 412 M25 cabinet on the Mix 01 file as well. Here we go. Awesome, very nicely saturated and a bit more compressed and sort of very nicely mid-focused. I really enjoyed that. Now also some isolated tones. Very cool. It still sounded classic, but with a bit more gain and mid-range push, and plenty of gain and compression, but again, still very classic sounding indeed. So overall, I'm really enjoying this amplifier. I think it's an excellent amp for those classic Plexi tones with plenty of volume as well. It seems to be very well built and sturdy, and of course it's a hand-wired amplifier, so it was built with a lot of love and care. And I really like how this one looks with the brown Tolex and everything. It's just very classy looking in general. Now I will be comparing this 50 watt amplifier to my 20 watt Marshall SV20H, the Studio Vintage. But I can already say that this amplifier has a bit of a warmer sound and a bigger sound with a bit more oomph in general. It's a 50 watt amplifier after all, with high quality components and of course with bigger transformers and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a high quality boutique hand-wired Plexi style amplifier with plenty of power and plenty of tone, the Wangs 1987 HW could very well be for you. That's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like and a subscribe, as that would really help the channel out. I'd really appreciate that. And of course, let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this wonderful Wangs amplifier. You can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Cheers!